mom.
It's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew,
Can we
your
get a
friend,
couple
your
of
camera,
names
your
on
son,
my
as your
chest?
kinfolk, William Jewell. Yeah. Giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating. Rap, rap, rap. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn all the notifications on so you can get all the new content, all the new posts when I make them. I'm just here to give y'all some of my details, give y'all some of my information. And it's a lot of things that we need to look into in the details, right? The devil's in the details, the evil, the off putting things are in the details. And when you look at the details of this UMG and Drake lawsuit, you will see some devils. You will see some things that will make you look with a confused face. Like you will see some things that will make you raise your eyebrow. You'll see some things that you didn't think you would see, but if you live long enough and you're mature and you're wise, and as you evolve with life, then you understand that the world has to evolve as well, right? And so does hip hop culture. And now we're kind of seeing the evolution of hip hop culture. People are pointing to hip hop and saying this is not hip hop, right? People are pointing to Drake and say he's not like us. And that's the thing about hip hop. That's the thing about when we let the visitors in. That's gonna come with it. That's a part of the territory. Things like this happens when there's no gatekeepers, when there's no people like making sure that the people that come into this industry are qualified to be in this industry, to have endurance. And Drake endured for 15 years in that top spot. And I feel like it's kind of like LeBron, because people were saying LeBron was the best when LeBron was not the best, and Kobe still was the best in the league. And people are saying that Drake was dominant for 15 years, and I don't believe he was dominant for 15 years because I still feel like Lil Wayne has something to say, right? I feel like a lot of artists were doing things that, Drake was still bubbling, he was still rising, but he wasn't at the top spot, for 15 years, maybe 10 years. I'll give him that, but to say 15 years, I think that's, overextending the invite a little bit too much. But let's just get into the details of the lawsuit, right? I'm not going to talk too long on it because we already went through the petition. We already went through the filings that he had with UMG and Spotify. We already went through the filings that he had with the iHeart Media. We already went through some of these things that Drake was, going through. And now for the people that were saying that this is for the artists, this is for the people who will be able to find out the numbers on the contract and find out the numbers that Spotify is doing. All of this will give us the information that we need to be successful. Right? They were saying all these things about Drake and applauding Drake for even having the courage to do this in the midst of going through the storm. Going through the eye of the tiger is what we would say, the not like us in that peak spot. Right? And although he was unbothered, right, you could tell he was spiraling. You could tell that he was downtrodden. You could tell that he felt betrayed. Even in the Fighting Irish, you see it. Even in the QC video, he did the live streaming. Even in Aiden Ross, even when he tried to put a smile on his face, when we talk about the Hamptons picture, that it seemed like he aged. Even when that time was around, every time we saw him, we could see the stress. We could feel the energy oozing from the pictures, from the streaming videos. Just his presence told us that he was not well. And I feel like it's kind of adding compounding interest. It's kind of adding more hurdles to jump to get over. It's adding more to the mountain that you have to climb. It's adding more rungs to the ladder, right? It's adding more steps on that wooden bridge that you gotta get across when you in Mother Nature on that peak on that journey. And man, like I said, it had to evolve. And I think the evolution that's happening in hip hop, it's an evolution in, happening across the world with the council culture, with the sensitivity of the quote unquote woke culture. I feel like there's a shift. We saw Snoop Dogg, we saw Rick Ross, we saw Soldier Boy, we saw these artists at the Trump inaugural crypto ball, right? When they was down talking Trump, you know, previously. Assassinate Trump like I'm Zimmerman and take those words as if they came from Eminem. Right? Rick Ross said that. But we saw him perform, and I think I'm Big Meat, Larry Hoover. And we know he's a capitalist. We know he's all about the dollar. And we know about this society is all about capitalism. We know why we see Snoop Dogg's in these commercials, while we see him in the Olympics. We know the commercial sex he's having. It's only right that he aligns himself with these type of people, with these politicians, with this crowd. Why are we getting so down on them? Right? And I think we can talk about that a little bit more, but let me just stay on topic. We're on the Drake lawsuit. We're going through some of the key points I feel like is important for us to talk about. Some of the things that, that's important. And when we talk about the UMG defamation, we're saying that Drake feared for the safety, right? He feared. That's one thing that's mentioned in the lawsuit. He feared for the safety of his child, of his baby mama. He had to move them out of the school, had to move them out of Toronto just to make sure that there was no hurt, harm, or danger caused to them. The security guard shot the one that he mentioned in Fighting Irish freestyle. It was over for rapping at that point, right? He talks about what he endured in the Fighting Irish when we talk about safety, but also we can point to Kendrick Lamar on Whacked Out Murals when he said he was trying to give him that crypto, that Bitcoin, bank transactions. If that money would have got in the hands of a crash dummy, could have jeopardized my freedom and burdened the ones who love me. Niggas mad because I decided not to pretend. Y'all can be politically correct. I'ma do what I did. Ain't no sympathy here. This shit's hilarious. Like, we talking about Whacked Out Murals, and we talking about how Kendrick had the foresight, and at the same time Drake feared for his safety. And then we go to the other token where Kendrick feared for his safety as well, because when we think about California and all the murder deaths that have happened to the rappers out there, I feel like it's a little bit even more dangerous, right? So, I mean, Drake had something to fear. Kendrick had something to fear. I believe there was a safety issue there, in both directions, but the people that are pointing to the safety that happened at the embassy was linked between the XO and OVO beef. It was linked between the beef between Drake and The Weeknd, because Drake and The Weeknd took shots on Family Matters. The Weeknd took shots on We Don't Trust You Too. So we know that there was some type of beef brewing and bubbling between those camps out of Toronto, right? The Weeknd's manager, somebody got shot, right? So, and then The Weeknd said that Drake Shooters is on TikTok. So it's crazy that he's attributing this safety measure to not like us, when Kendrick said, I didn't even need to look for information on you. You thinking my life is rap? I got a son to raise, but I could tell you don't know nothing about that. right? And maybe this has given Drake a chance to get closer to his son, a chance to get closer to Adonis, to teach him, to raise him, to pray with him, to be an example to the man that he wants him to become, keeping him close. And then it also points out the anti-Semitism of not like us. When Kendrick is saying not like us, Drake is trying to say that he is pointing to his Jewish heritage. He's weaponizing his Jewish heritage, his Jewish clout, right? His Jewish upbringing. When Drake, honestly, before we think about hell yeah, fucking right, HYFR that he did with Lil Wayne, and he had that bar mitzvah. I don't remember any real time where Drake really just capitalized off being Jewish other than behind the scenes. He never really put that out. He wanted to be Mob Ties. He wanted to be Frank White. He wanted to be Bumpy Johnson. He wanted to be Frank Lucas. He wanted to be Jay Prince Jr. Right? So when we talk about not like us, it's not about Drake being Jewish. We're talking about the hip hop culture and how what he's doing now would usually be a no-no. What he's doing now is out of bounds. How he's responded to not like us, doing the lawsuit, throwing LeBron James' name in the mix because he was dancing to songs, just doing all these tactics and participating in the buffoonery, participating in just outrageous things. It's kind of crazy that Drake is trying to put this on Kendrick and going the anti-Semitism angle when, that's not the case. And the streamers, he called out the streamers. The streamers are mad about this too. RDC, right? Kai Cenat, Zeiss, Shaq, like the streamers are wrapped up into the lawsuit as well. They're mentioned. They're not being sued, but they're mentioned, and it's caused them to act out, to respond, to say things. Certified Pussy Boy, B. Lou, it's caused them to strike back and react even more. So he's saying that UMG allowed these streamers to stream not like us and monetize those streams. Like when the streamers already knew, and I feel like Drake could have done the same thing if Drake wanted to apply that tactic. And then when we look at the evidence Screwface John showed us, he also was being able to be monetized by pushing out the push-ups song reaction on Drake. So I think it was kind of like both things. Rob Markman spoke about OVO and how they would let him be monetized. So I believe it was being done on both sides of the fence. I don't think it was just Drake being allowed or Kendrick being allowed to demonetize or to help these streamers monetize their reactions and listenings to this music. Right? So, man, all it boils down to is Drake doesn't want that pedophile word being said about him on the Super Bowl stage, right? And I'm sure he wants some type of compensation. I'm sure he wants to get out of his record deal. I mean, that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm reading. I'm not in the middle of the industry. I just report, give y'all my opinion based on how I see things. And that's how I see things. And then what was also interesting to me is the fact that Kendrick signed a short-term deal. Basically signed a short-term deal with UMG just to see, because he's not with TDE anymore. He's with PG Lang. And the interesting thing about that is that he was supposed to sign with Columbia or Sony, the other record labels. I'm sure it was Sony, if I'm not mistaken. PG Lang was supposed to be with Sony, but when he released Euphoria, it came out through Universal Music Group and Interscope. So that was interesting that Drake pretty much put out the fact that Kendrick signed a short-term deal with Universal just to throw out these diss tracks. And then when he saw that they could promote him the way he wanted to be promoted, that's when he signed a longer extension, and now he's dropped GNX. So we know that PG Lang was supposed to be being published by another company, and the fact that UMG did sign a short-term deal with Kendrick, and I mean it makes sense because this is a familiar record label. He already know what he's gonna get out of them, but he's only been with TDE, so it only makes sense for him to stay within the same building that helped him cultivate everything that he is right now instead of trying to go to another record label. So the good thing is that Kendrick did stay with Universal. So I mean, I get it. I mean, it is something to raise your eyebrow. Like basically, he was like, "All right, I'm gonna sign the short term deal. Get on his ass. If I get right by doing this, all right, I'm gonna work with y'all in the future." And I mean, obviously, they proved themselves valuable. They proved themselves worthy. They proved themselves beneficial. So that was interesting to me. And then just like, what does Drake brand go forward? Like, where does he go from here? How does he extend? Because the only thing that's troubling is he won't be able to drop any more music. The only thing that, worries me is that he won't be able to get out in front of anything that's being said about him. It's going to be hard to stay relevant in the way that he did, because we know Drake was relevant because he consistently dropped music. Even if it wasn't an album every year, he was on everybody features. If it wasn't features, it was an EP. It was a 2 or 3 pack. We know Drake, even with his social media presence, he's always been relevant into the music industry. So, I mean, for him to stay relevant without being able to drop any new music because he's trying to get into this litigation fight with Universal Music Group will only hurt him in the long run. So it's best to be able to get this litigation done, be able to get whatever lawsuit done and figured out before he can, drop some music. So he won't be standing on the shelves too long, because we saw what they did with Fighting Irish. Right, the thing was they could have released it, but they didn't release it. It was already released, but it's not a good sound. So you want to hear that quality sound. You want to hear like a quality song. You want to hear a full album. You want to hear a body of work. And the thing is, we got No Face. We got Circadian Rhythms. We got Blue, Green, Red. We got the song with Young Thug and 21 Savage. We got some things from Drake in that 100 gig album. And just the fact that it kind of came and went, it should be alarming to him, not alarming to his fans, because the fans, we can go back and listen to it. We can go back and check it out. But it's not relevant. It's not consistently being heard on the outside. And in the past, some of these hits, some of these songs you could hear them and they would be a hit for Drake. And I feel like this is establishing the hold, or, the reason why UMG has that, that ability to push an artist, to get at artists what they want out of, business, and also appease themselves. So I think this is just an example to show Drake. Like, and the thing is, you want to champion the person going up against the big business structure. Right? You want to champion that person, but the person that's that's going up against the major label is a person that seems to lack integrity, that seems to lack character, that seems to lack accountability, that is not aware of himself, that is not aware of his shortcomings and his insecurities, that has blind spots that he hasn't seen, that have been attacked, and now he's looking at his body like, how did you hit me? How did you get a punch on me? How did you you know what I'm saying? How did you get out of my peripheral? Right? Because there's a lot of things that I don't think he knew about himself that are being exposed. And I think he's finding out about himself in real time, because we got to grow as men. We got to grow as people. And a part of that journey is finding out more about ourselves as far as the things that we don't like, as far as the things we like, as far as what makes us comfortable, what makes us uncomfortable, what motivates us, what pushes us, what's going to get us going, what's going to like hurt us, what's going to harm us, what's going to put us in a bad mood, what's going to trigger us. Like all these things we find out about ourselves not just one day we wake up and know all these answers. We go through trials and error. We go through struggle and strife. This is my life. Keep your head up to the sky, 'cause everything gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Keep your head up to the sky. Drake, keep your head up to the sky, bro. I mean, because at the end of the day, like, you're still a man. You're still not perfect. You're still full of sin. You're still going to make mistakes. You're still going to be right. You're still going to be wrong. You're still going to be up. You're still going to be down. You're never going to be perfect. And it's okay to get a stain on you. It's okay to get a blemish, a spot on you, on your brand. But sometimes when you wipe that stain, the stain gets bigger. Sometimes when you're trying to rub it out, you don't clean it, you spread it. Same thing with germs. Same thing with, paint on a canvas. So I believe this is a stain that he been trying to wipe off of him, but it's only spread. It's only extended outside that boundary, that territory even more, because he won't leave it alone. You know, when you get cut, when you get scraped, and when you get a boo-boo, when you get a sore, and it got to heal, your mama say, leave it alone. When you got a rash, your mama say, quit scratching it. Because all it does is it will spread. When you get a sore, if you keep peeling the skin off, all it will do is cause it to bleed and take it a longer time to heal. But if you leave it alone, if you leave the scars alone and stop trying to scratch them, if you leave the stains alone and wait till you get it into the washing machine, if you leave all those things alone and wait till you get in the proper spot, in place and time and element, and you can wash those burdens away. And I believe Drake is continuing to pick at a sore, right? He's continuing to pick at a sore because he feel like it looks ugly on him. But if he just let it heals, right? If he let it heals and stop messing with it, it will heal and he will be recovered, right? But that's just my 2 cents. That's just my 2 cents. And then we got to salute to Kendrick Lamar, right? Because all this Drake talk, yes, it's boosting up Not Like Us even more. It's making it a bigger song. It's making GNX a more popular album just because of what Kendrick has foreshadowed and foretold in this beef. And everything he said has come true. Even when he said April the 7th, when J. Cole apologized on the Heart Part 4, like, it's crazy how right he is about certain things. So GNX is platinum now. This makes every studio album that he's dropped platinum. We got Good Kid. We got To Pimp a Butterfly. We got Damn. We got Mr. Morale. And we got GNX is platinum. And I'm going to just read out some bullet points. GNX debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 with 319,000 album equivalent units. So that was the first week sale. It was Lamar's 5th consecutive #1 album in the US. So he's never dropped an album that's not been #1. It was the 6th largest opening week of 2024 for any album. It had the biggest streaming week of a 2024 for any hip-hop or R&B album. All 12 songs from GNX debuted on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. It was Lamar's first #1 album on the UK albums chart since To Pimp a Butterfly in 2015. So this was a global album, right? This wasn't just in America. This just wasn't domestic. Then also the songs from GNX eligible for RIAA AA certification. TV off is platinum. Luther is platinum. Squabble up is platinum. Now listen, Whacked Out Murals gold, Hey Now gold, Dodger Blue gold, Reincarnated gold, Peekaboo gold, Man at the Garden gold. That's 9 out of 12 songs on the album that went gold or higher, right? And this person says it's time to admit that GNX is a classic. So if all those songs are gold or higher, that means Gloria, GNX, the the self the album titled song, right? GNX, Gloria, and who I want. So what's the other song that's not? It's Gloria. It's GNX. Thinking about the track list. Let me go to it. Let me go to the track list. I'm missing one song. Heart Part 6. And that's the last three songs of the album. Heart Part 6, GNX, and Gloria. And I feel like Heart Part 6 and Gloria definitely will go gold or higher. And GNX, I'm sure that will definitely get up there eventually as well. So that's what I'm reading. That's what I'm looking at. Salute to Kendrick on this success. Right. Still haven't said anything. And what they saying, and I listened to this on the Joke Button podcast, right? Ice brought it up, is that we don't see that same marketing for the Super Bowl for Kendrick as we saw for Usher or Dr. Dre. We don't see a lot of commercials. Only time they really talking about the Super Bowl performance is during the games. I don't see any commercials. So I hope that's going to change. I'm sure he's going to be dropping something new, dropping a deluxe, and it's really coming up on us closely. So, I think it's February 9th, if I'm not mistaken. So we just got to stay in tune, just listen to what's coming and just keep our eyes open. So I think he's going to do something else. It's been hinted that he was going to do something else. It makes sense that he's doing something else to get even more figures, when that Super Bowl performance comes. And, I can't wait. Me and the missus, we got tickets. We're going to see the performance here in Dallas. And so shout out Kendrick Lamar. He's been moving with integrity. He's been moving with character. He tried to do it with integrity. You know what I'm saying? But he was forced to go this route. And this route has, hurt Drake, right? And ultimately, like, I wish they all could coexist. And I wish it wasn't so much of a stain on Drake. And I don't think Kendrick necessarily wanted to put a stain on Drake, just because when I think about the Harper's Bazaar interview, there must be love and there must be hate, right? There must be good and there must be evil. Like, both of those things live within us. Both of those qualities live within us. And if that is true, and if that belief is true, then he must believe in hip hop. There's a section where Drake is needed. There is a place where Drake is needed, right? Because him and J. Cole are very similar. They're very on the same kind of scale, like for a substance standpoint, from a lyricism standpoint. I think Kendrick is better with crafting like hits than Cole, but I feel like their messaging is very similar, so they're kind of both in the same lane. But we need the Futures, we need the Drakes, we need the Big Seans, we need those other artists that give us a piece of themselves as well. And I believe that Kendrick, in his heart, he knows there's a place for Drake's in hip hop, but we have to know that it is what it is. We have to see it for what it represents and not think that it represents us as a culture. Not like believe that these type of things make us who we are. And I was listening to that Busta Rhymes album, the Dragon Season. I thought it was cool. And the crazy thing I was hearing about Busta Rhymes is that he slapped his 50-year-old assistant. And now they talk about the youth clout chasing, but Busta Rhymes, this was a clout chasing move. Like, I don't know why you would slap a 50-year-old man and you're 50 yourself. There's no need for violence, right? There's no need for violence. And there's no need to clout chase. There's no need to roll out something, get attention to yourself that people were going to look to this album. So I would say, like, that's disgusting, right? That's nasty, especially if you told your assistants, hey, I'm going to slap you so we can kind of get some news around this, and I'm going to drop this EP so we can try to see if we can get some numbers, see if we can get some attention. I believe that's foul play. I believe that's disgusting, or that's just shameless. That's disgraceful. I think we use nasty word and disgusting too much. I think we just say it's shameful, it's disgraceful, it's just disrespecting the game of hip hop. Just speak through your art. And I know why you couldn't speak through your art, because it wasn't as artistic as you might have wanted to be, or at least in my eye. Like, the production was cool. You know what I'm saying? It didn't stand out to me. One song that did stand out to me was "Do the Bus a Bus." I believe that would be a great song to play in parties, like an Electric Side, a Cupid Shuffle, "Do the Bus to Bus." I think that's cool. I think the intro was cool, but something about his voice was a little bit raspier. It sounded different than normal, and then on some tracks, it sounded like it got back right. I like the feature with YG Marley that they did at the end. It showed Busta Rhymes with a little bit versatility, with a little bit of a melodic approach. And you can't go wrong with a Marley. And I believe YG Marley is Lauryn Hill's son, so you can't go wrong with that family tree at all. But when we think about the EP as a whole, Dragon Season Awakening, I think it was cool. And I think what they said about Busta is actually true, right? And it's kind of the same thing they've said about Eminem, is that as far as rapping goes and lyrical ability and flow and cadence and being able to rap fast and things like that is very much a skill set that a lot of rappers don't have. But the substance, what you're saying when you're talking so fast and so much and trying to make words rhyme, like, what are you ultimately saying? And when I was listening to those songs, other than that YG Marley, song that they did, like, I don't think there was any true substance in that EP at all. He was not talking about anything, and there's a lot of things to talk about. A letter to my children, saying these rappers are your children. Like, I feel you, Bus. I mean, you was one of the first ones who was unique, that was out the box. You and Andre 3K. Like, I can't forget Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes was that guy when I was in high school, was that guy when I was in middle school. Like, Busta Rhymes, break your neck, come on. Break your neck, come on. Like, come on. Baby, if you give it to me, I'll give it to you. I know what you want. You know I got it. The feature he did with Chris Brown, Look at Me Now. Anybody gonna, come on now. I love Busta Rhymes, but why are you assaulting a 50-year-old man to market an album? Come on, bro. You grown. This is not how we act. But Dragon Season, The Awakening, I believe you didn't wake me up. I believe you shook me. You shook me, but I opened up my eye a little bit and I went back to sleep. You shook me. I opened up my eye a little bit and I went back to sleep. And then you just said, okay, he's not going to wake up because I'm not woke. But I do like the title, Dragon Seasoning. Dragon Season. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe in the dragons and the tigers and the Europe and the Eastern, culture. The Eastern culture. I love the Eastern culture when it comes to dragons. And then we go to Balloonerism by Mac Miller. A posthumous album, of course. And I've never been a big fan of Mac Miller, so understand that when I kind of give my analysis on this album. I've liked Mac Miller. I've enjoyed some of his music. I appreciate his music. I appreciate the artist that he was. And I appreciate the fact that he always stayed hip hop and never tried to go outside of that realm, even though he had so much ability and so much talent to do so if he wanted it to. If he wanted to. So man, Mac Miller balloonerism. My main notes was the beats, the production. It was a little bit more hollow, more meant for listening to the words and understanding the words. It was boom bap, but it was kind of like lo-fi. So the production, mixed with Max Miller's style, I believe it kind of worked for him, but it can kind of lull you to sleep if you're wanting something more up tempo, more upbeat, and that energy, the vibe of the album, it really didn't change. It was more hollow, more empty, and it was more focused on lyrics and just focused on the vibe that he curated, throughout that album. And it was about getting high. It was about getting lit, just being stoned, right? The song Stoned, just being in that euphoric vibration, that atmosphere. I think that Mac Miller really, I do think that some of these songs probably wasn't finished just from listening to them. But they did their best to like put them together so that he could have a body of work and have an album. That's how I feel about it. And it may be for his hardcore fans that just wanted to hear Mac one more time, that just really wanted to hear some music from him. But just for somebody that's just hip hop and not that big of a fan of his that likes his music, I don't think this is an album that will make me more of a fan of Mac Miller. I think this is something I can appreciate for his estate doing, and I can appreciate for him always staying hip hop, always staying true to himself, always inspiring others, and salute to Mac Miller. But I think I want to talk about Rick Ross and Snoop again, and I think Soldier Boy that also performed at the Crystal Ball. I'm gonna make it real quick, but I really don't see no big issue. I really don't see no big issue. I mean, the only issue I see is they've in the past when Trump first got elected, which if you think about the time frame, that's been 8 years ago. So they have 8 years, 4 years with Trump, 4 years with Biden to, change their thinking and change their positioning on how they feel. And I feel like we can't get mad if somebody changed their mind about how they feel. It's been 8 years. It's been 8 years. And if we thinking about being grown, thinking about being mature, thinking about our career path, and also thinking about capitalism, then I mean we gonna move how we move. And I can't blame nobody from being a capitalist. I can't blame nobody for using the people that's gonna use them. They say they look like they cooning, they look like they're court jesters, but I feel like if they're gonna be used, get something out of it. They're not being dumb about it. What else will put Snoop Dogg in higher graces with Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, like all these guys that are showering Trump with praise and adulation? Why wouldn't he try to get closer to that? Because we see how he's moving right now anyways. We see he's a corporate entity at this part. So I mean, what are we doing here? Ross, that's my guy. He was a correctional officer previously. Like, he's been a hustler from day one. The first song you heard about Rick Ross was Hustle. Every day I'm hustling. This is a hustle. This is a game. Like, y'all tripping. Oh no, this the black people. What they say? Black people are not a monolith. We all don't believe the same thing. So stop trying to be so quick to call somebody a coon. Like, you're not betraying the people. I do not feel betrayed. Like, you're being a spook by the door. You're taking in information and you're going to give it back to us. And even if you don't give it back, you're a representative of us in those situations, and we need to be in those places. So for these people saying that, oh, these are goons, these are court jesters, these are people being used by Trump, they already talk bad about Trump, and the fact that Trump let them back in should say something about Trump as well, if you're on that side of things, right? Because if you talk bad about my brother, you talk bad about my family, and he forgive you and let you back in, I'm still going to look at you a little bit different. But the fact that he let you back in into our business and to hear some of our conversations and hear some about our dealings that says what he thinks about you, although he know what you was doing wasn't real. Like, that shit ain't real, what they say. There ain't no real friends in the industry, and there ain't no real beef in the industry. This all a business. This all a partnership. What can I do to scratch your back? Can you scratch my back? So, like, I mean, I feel what y'all trying to say. It's not a good look, but black people are going to have to partner with Trump. Why does it always have to be the black people that we already don't like? Because if we don't already like them, then how are we going to try to win? How are we going to try to get ourselves into a position to do something and take advantage of whatever we can while he's in office? Because the next candidate is not guaranteed to be a Democrat. The next candidate ain't guaranteed to be a Republican. But man, like, and I don't love Trump. I'm not a Trump supporter. But it's like, I see everything. I see the ignorance. I see the blinded ignorance, right, from both sides. So it is what it is. That shit breaking up families. That shit breaking up friendships. Niggas don't want to talk to each other. Niggas judging each other. White people and black people. Right? Everybody looking at each other sideways because somebody supports this person. We can't even speak real amongst each other without somebody getting butthurt about it, when we need to have these conversations to find the information so we can find the conclusion that we need to come to. But y'all mad at Snoop Dogg and Rick Ross performing some songs and getting paid. Go get it and come back with it. And I'm okay with that. If you go get it and stay there and don't share it with everybody else that's behind you in line, then that's when I had a problem. But we got to get through these doors. I'm saying the people that we like, the people that's influential, and the people that's proven themselves that they don't give back. Rick Ross has proven that he's going to give back. Snoop Dogg has proven he's going to give back. Soulja Boy, he was one of the first of the first. I don't know what he would give back, but like, we just got to see things through a different lens and through a different eye, instead of always being so quick to bash others for doing something that we don't like. Instead, ask yourself why they did it. Will they benefit from it? Will the benefit that they get from it benefit us in the long run? Right? You know what I'm saying? You got to look at everything full circle from a 3D point of view, not just from the outside looking in, but you just got to look at it for, what do you think is going in? What do you think the viewpoint would be if I was inside looking out, right? And so we just got to think about all those things. But you know what I'm saying? Salute to them guys, man. You know what I'm saying? Those are the OGs. Those are the legends. I'm not going to go against my legends. Trump got Wayne out. Wayne did a quick commercial supporting Trump. Trump got Kodak out. Kodak showed love and support from Trump. Like, I don't see why this is any different than those two doing it, right? But it's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son as your kinfolk, William Jewell, giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating rap, rap, rap.